Today on episode number 548 of the School of Podcasting, we've got a really cool Because of My Podcast story involving lots of beef. So if anybody remembers Clara Parker, where's the beef? Yeah, it's at Cale's house. We also are going to be talking about podcasting for your business. I have a great example of somebody who just got it right and a company that, well, yeah. Also, we're going to go back and look at your podcast website. I'm going to talk about a little activity I did that just had me going, really? Seriously? Wow. Hit it, ladies.
The School of Podcasting with Dave Jackson.
Podcasting since 2005. I'm your very own personal podcast coach, Dave Jackson. Thanking you so much for tuning in. Happy New Year. If you're new to the show, this is what we do. We help you massage your message. We help you tackle that technology, that stuff that's making you wet your pants. You're like, oh, the technology. Yeah, it's not a big deal. We're going to help you face your fears, flatten that learning curve, and get you on the road to a successful podcast. Our website is schoolofpodcasting.com. If you go to schoolofpodcasting.com/start, because you're ready to start, aren't you? Use the coupon code LISTENER, LISTENER, and that'll save you on either a single course, if you just want to do one course, or if you want to sign up for the whole membership thing, that is there as well. And I know you're like, Dave, man, I can't believe the first week of the year is already behind us. Time is going by so quickly. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I want my website to sound better. I don't have enough time in the day. Well, here's what you do. You go over and you see my friends Danny and Aaron Osment over at Emerald City Productions. That's right. They are a full-service recording studio that provides production, engineering, and editing. That's right. They've been around since 2009. They're a full-service recording studio based over in Tennessee. And if you're thinking about starting a podcast, they want to help make your current show sound better. I mean, when your audience hits play on your show, they're just going to go, because it's just going to sound awesome. Now, what are they going to do? Well, if your show is 30 minutes or less, check this out, $15 an episode for the first 4 episodes. And they're going to go through and they're going to add your intros. They're going to remove any of those annoying ums and your no's and mistakes. And if you need any kind of noise reduction, or if you need dynamic processing or a little tweaking of your EQ, and if you go, I don't know what that means, you don't need to. You just hand it to Danny and let him go with it. You need mastering, you need encoding, you need that ID3 tagging, all that stuff. It's done for you. Now, what happens after those first 4 episodes? The price goes up to $40. And that, again, is a steal, because think of all the time you will save. Think about all the headaches you won't have, and you'll be able to go out and promote your show, and you won't be afraid to, because it's going to sound awesome. People are going to go, when they listen to your show. Now, how do you do this? Go over to emeraldcitypro.com/SOP. That's emeraldcitypro.com/SOP. And while you're over there, you can go over there and check out one of their free webinars. They do one every month, and they talk about things like how to use the equipment that you have. They talk about editing, mixing, and mastering. Everything you can find over at emeraldcitypro.com/SOP. Cale Nelson does the Ham Radio 360 podcast. If you're a regular listener, you hear me talk about Cale a lot. You know why? Because he's just knocking it out of the park. He's a really cool guy. I'll be talking about, he's doing another podcast as well that I'll be talking about in the future. But this one stems around his Ham Radio 360. And listen to what one of his listeners did.
Hey, Dave Jackson, it's Cale Nelson from Ham Radio 360 Podcast. Happy New Year, y'all. I've got another real quick Because of My Podcast story for you. Yeah, it's not just me. This stuff happens to people all the time. I just happen to be the one that Dave asked, hey, can you send this in to me? And I said, sure. So here it is. A couple of weeks before Christmas, a guy who supports my show financially every month sent me an email. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. How many people are in your family? And I was like, well, I've got 5 kids, my wife and I. He said, okay, what are your kids' ages? And I was like 13 to 5, all the way down. And he said, okay, don't plan to cook supper on the Thursday before Thanksgiving, because I'm going to prepare supper for you. Now, that's really weird, because, you see, I'm down here in South Carolina, and this gentleman is in Missouri. So I was like, okay, that's fine. We'll be home. Thursday afternoon, right before Christmas, the brown magic truck pulls into the driveway, and sure enough, he comes off the truck with a huge cardboard box labeled Jack Stack Barbecue. Inside that box was all kind of delicious things like pulled pork barbecue, barbecue chicken, barbecue sausages, ends from a brisket, which were my favorite part, by the way, baked beans, corn casserole, barbecue sauce, etc. It was an amazing dinner. My wife came home from work. My house smelled like heaven. She wondered what happened. I had a spread that was just amazing. We ate like kings and queens, and it was all because of my podcast. Happy New Year, y'all. This is Cale from hamradio360.com.
How cool is that? That's the first one I've heard people getting beef. I mean, I've heard some cool stuff. I got some cool things over the holidays. I mean, Cale himself, and that's how I heard about this, is I was thanking Cale. He sent me a Ham Radio 360 hat, being that it's a whopping 9 degrees here in Ohio today. And he was very nice to send me one of those. And so you can get stuff from your audience from time to time because they think you're a cool person. So, Cale, thank you so much for sending those in. If you can answer that question, can you see where it doesn't really matter what it is? It doesn't have to be, and they sent me $1 million. If you can answer the question, hey, you know what? This wouldn't have happened except I have a podcast, right? Because of my podcast, blank. Go to schoolofpodcasting.com/contact, send it in, and be sure to mention your website while you're at it. In this case, hamradio360.com is where you can find Cale. Hey, I mentioned earlier that it's been kind of cold here in Ohio as I record this. You know where it's not going to be cold? That's right, Orlando, Florida. And if you're anywhere near Orlando, Florida, or can be in Orlando, Florida, February 23rd through the 25th, that is where PodFest, the Multimedia Expo, is going on. They're having some hack named Dave Jackson, that would be me, be the closing keynote of that. But I went last year. It was really one of the first times I got to meet Glenn the Geek. And they have a ton of great speakers. Chris Kermitzos, the guy behind the Messengers documentary, which, by the way, there'll be a new episode of The Messengers coming out. All sorts of really cool stuff going on. It's a great place to network. And if you've never been to an event, this is a fun one to check it out. Plus, again, it's in Orlando. So while you're getting your geek on, your friends can go over and visit the mouse and everything else that's in Florida, work on their tan, things like that. I do have a weird request, though. So if you are a guitar player, is that you? Do you have a guitar? And you live in Orlando. Okay, so that narrows it down. And preferably an electric guitar. If you could go over, just email me, dave@schoolofpodcasting.com. The guy that runs the event, Chris Kermitzos, has said, is there any way you can work your guitar into your presentation? And I thought about it. I'm like, all right, there's something I could do. So much for surprising people that I was going to play the guitar in my presentation. But here's the thing, and I'm in Ohio. I don't want to ship my guitar down there, and then I'm going to be working the Libsyn booth. So if I could borrow your electric guitar for one day to kind of just riff on for about a minute and a half in the middle of a presentation, please email me, dave@schoolofpodcasting.com, and I'd be your friend forever. So let me know. And if you don't have a guitar and just want to go have some fun, check it out, podfest.us. Use the coupon code Dave, all lowercase, and get your reservations in because February is right around the corner. Podcasting for your business. Now, if you don't have a business, don't tune out because there's some good advice here. And that is you always have to think about your listener. It always comes down to your listener. When people ask, well, should I do this? Should I do this? When it's about content, I might have an opinion on that, but a lot of times my answer is going to be, I don't know, go get a focus group, go find your target audience and ask them. But in the end, you've heard me say this before, you want your podcast to do one of these. You want to make people laugh, cry, think, groan, educate, or entertain. And if you can do more than one of those, that's even better. But you want them to do this. And so today I'm bringing on Tim Sinclair. And can we pull back the curtain just a little bit? You'll hear on the beginning of this when I do my intro, and it's real brief, I couldn't remember Tim's last name. So you just hear me go, thanks, Tim. And then later I remembered it. But that's, so just so you know, and I wasn't going to, I've known Tim. I've always just known him as Tim. For those of you that like Monty Python, some call me Tim. And so I just called him Tim. So there you go. Little transparency for you. But I brought him on because Tim is doing a what I feel is a great podcast to promote your business. In this case, it's Ringer. If you haven't heard of Ringer, it's RINGR, because we all know E's are evil, man. RINGR. Now, if you want to, I do have an affiliate link for this. And for the record, I've been talking about Ringer long before they had an affiliate program. But if you go to ringr.com/podcast coach, that's my affiliate for Ringer. But I didn't bring Tim on because he's got stuff to pimp. I brought him on because he's doing a podcast launch and he's doing it right. So here's my interview with Tim Sinclair from Ringer and the brand new My Worst Interview Ever show. With 18 years of radio experience under his belt, and how long has Ringer been around?
We started in the summer of 2014, so a little over 2.5 years now.
Yeah, 2.5 years. The CEO of Ringer, that's RINGR. Tim, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh, my pleasure, Dave. Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate the offer.
Yeah, the reason I brought you on is I've actually been interviewed for a show you're launching today as people listen to this. And I got your email saying, hey, we're getting ready to launch. Here's some things. And I was like, holy cow. Because the thing I loved about it is you're already in Stitcher, you're already in iTunes, and your website's already up. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's actually doing a launch correctly. So I was like, I got to have you come on the show and kind of peel back the curtain on your thoughts on this. So what inspired you to do a podcast?
Well, my background is in radio, as I believe you mentioned, and so that's really my calling, I feel like, in life, and what I'm gifted at doing, at being a communicator and a speaker and trying to do it creatively and effectively. And so I accidentally started Ringer trying to solve a problem that I had in radio. And as we were brainstorming at the end of 2016 about things we could do to, one, help promote our product, but more than anything, help people who are in podcasting and broadcasting do interviews better, we came up with the idea of a podcast. And so I started thinking through, all right, what do we want it to be about? We thought about the title. It's all about the interview, trying to, just give tips and tricks and things and ways to do interviews better. And I was writing out lists of questions for the It's All About the Interview podcast. And one of my questions was, tell me about your worst ever interview. And the more I thought about it and the more I stared at it, the more I went, you know what? That needs to be the podcast. We need to talk with people about the stories that have ended up on the cutting room floor that nobody wants to talk about because we all want to seem polished and professional and like we have it together. Let's talk about that and then see what we can learn from them and see what happens. And it has been so much fun recording. I've probably recorded 25 episodes already, and it has been just a blast hearing everybody's stories and then trying to learn something from those.
Well, I know your first episode is featuring, if I understand this right, none other than John Lee Dumas.
That's correct.
And can you give any, can you do like a mini spoiler?
Well, sure. His worst interview ever, he did actually air. And he tried to use it as an example to not only his listeners, but in Podcasters Paradise and some other things of what happens when things go wrong. And it is with an international rock star who I will not give away. You'll have to go find out who it is. But it's a great story. And, of course, John has some good takeaways from it as well.
Yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's – and to me, I just thought it was brilliant that – we hear now over and over and over is, sell with a story, get to the story. And so I saw that. And then the fact that it's going to be entertaining, I'm assuming some of these are pretty funny.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we've got some. Again, I don't want to give anything too much away, but one of them in the first couple of weeks that we'll launch is a guy who interviewed the national whistle champion on his radio show. And that story is rather entertaining. We had one guy who was interviewing the wrong person for more than 20 minutes before he realized it. And the list goes on and on and on. So there's everything from connection problems to completely disinterested guests to live interviews gone horribly wrong. And I think you'll find all of them. If you've ever done even one interview, you'll find these interesting, learn a little, hopefully laugh a lot. And then we dive a little bit deeper into the personal lives at the end of each show with each of our guests, which has been a whole lot of fun. We've had tears on a number of occasions that I did not expect, nor did the guest, but it just sort of organically happened. And I think that'll be sort of fun and powerful to listen to as well.
Now, how are you going to integrate some sort of promotion for Ringer in this without it turning it into a giant infomercial?
Yeah, I've been incredibly careful. I don't want it to be a Ringer podcast at all. I really don't. I think we have a good product that can help people do better interviews that sound great and connect easy. But I don't want it to become, oh my gosh, all we're going to do is hear about Ringer. In fact, a number of our guests have mentioned how great the product is, blah, 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 blah. And I have edited almost all of that out because that's how much I don't want it to be about Ringer. However, in the middle, I take about 20 seconds to say, hey, this podcast is brought to you literally and figuratively by Ringer. All of them are recorded on the platform. Here's how you go get it and get a 30-day free trial. And that's it. We have a separate website. We have separate Twitter and Facebook pages. You can get to Ringer from the worstinterviews.com page. You can get to, and vice versa. We've put links both ways. But otherwise, we're trying to keep them separate while still letting people know that that's how we're recording them.
Because that way, I'm assuming it keeps things kind of less cluttered on both sides of the fence. Was that the decision behind it, or?
Well, partially. I think the main reason for me is, again, I don't want anybody to feel like when they're coming to hear the Worst Interviews podcast that they're coming to get sold to. That's not the idea. Again, as the CEO of Ringer, I do think we have a great product. I do think it will help people, and I hope that one way or the other they find out about us and try it. But I want it to be entertaining. I want it to be helpful more than anything. And if those things are successful, then I think Ringer will be successful as well.
Yeah, because to me, I always say you want people to do one of these at least, which is laugh, cry, think, groan, educate, or entertain. And to me, you've got a couple of those in there: education, entertaining, and it just I think it's when I saw this, I'm like, oh, this is brilliant, because I always say, find out what your audience wants, or in your case, your target, customer is a person who's doing interviews and is really tired of having Skype crap out in the middle of it. So you could have made a podcast, like you said, with a bunch of how-tos and tips and tricks and things like that. But this is a fun way to stand out. And I just wanted to, you can't see me, but I'm standing and applauding as we speak right now. I was like, this is a brilliant move. I really liked it. And I just want to peel back the what inspired it. And it's a great idea. You have to keep me updated on how things go and what you see from the podcast.
Absolutely. We're thrilled with the response from our guests. To a person, they have all said that was a blast, or that's going to be a great episode, or something along those lines. And I feel like for me, it scratches an itch that I've had for a long time, not being behind a microphone on a regular basis. And so I think it's something I can do well and I can lend some expertise to. But the goal, of course, is to learn from our guests and to pull out those stories and then see where it takes us. I don't have a list of prepared questions other than one I have at the end. We listen to the story, base all of our back and forth on that. It all happens in right around 15 minutes, so it's not going to take up all of your day to listen to, and we think it'll be a blast.
Now, are you still doing the PA announcing for the different Chicago teams?
I am, actually. I do a public address for the Fighting Illini. So University of Illinois, I do men's and women's basketball and soccer. And in Chicago, I do the Chicago Fire. So if you're a soccer fan, I work with the MLS there. And then any other soccer event that comes to Chicago and Soldier Field. So we've done the Gold Cup and Copa America and all that kind of stuff that soccer fans know. And it's great fun. It's my paid hobby, but I love it.
Let's say a new season comes around and you grab the mic and you go test and you hear your voice come out over Soldier Field. Does it still take a second to go, wow, that's me going out over Soldier Field?
Yeah, it's I've worked a lot of big stadiums, which has been fun, and Soldier Field, it is sort of a pinch me moment. I mean, there's 5-6 million people in the surrounding Chicagoland area, and I live 2 hours south, and I still go, wait a second, when Team USA or Argentina or Mexico comes to Chicago to play soccer and they've got 60,000 fans, they call me to come do that? Okay, sure. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to second guess anybody. I'll make the drive up and do the job. And it has been incredible, not only for me, but my boys are big soccer fans, and they often get to come sit with me in the booth or at least attend the games and the matches. And that's been a lot of fun.
We mentioned at the beginning that Ringer's been around now 2.5 years. Anything exciting coming up with the platform in the future that we should keep an eye open for?
Well, we've got a couple of things that obviously the podcast is the big one right now. However, moving forward, we are still pushing toward conference calling, which we shouldn't be too far away on. So it's not just one-to-one. It would be multiple parties. You do 3, 4, 5, 6 people at a time. We also are still working and fighting with Apple and the iPhone over the Lightning port mic. You can run anything into our platform using the 1/8-inch jack, but the Lightning port got blown up in one of the updates in the last year or so from Apple, and so we're still trying to navigate those issues. But those are the two things on the most near term for us.
Well, and the thing I liked about that, as much as you hate having other companies who are responsible for your software blow it up, a la Facebook wrecking everybody's player and everything else, at least on your website, you're like, hey, look, here's what happened, and here's a solution. You can get this device and, plug your mixer into this and that. So I thought it was kind of like, well, this doesn't work anymore. Thank you, Apple. And here's a solution for it. So I thought that was kind of cool on your website that you're like, yeah, we know it doesn't work. It's not our fault. So
try to make some lemonade out of lemons, I guess.
Exactly. So yeah. So again, thanks for coming on the show, everybody. If you want to check this out, I know I'm going to be subscribing instantaneously for this. The website is worstinterviews.com. Tim Sinclair, thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
My pleasure, Dave. Thanks for having me on. I'll do it anytime.
So I'm really looking forward. Thank you, Tim, again so much for coming on the show. I'm going to be on there. Rob Walsh is going to be on there. Todd Cochran, Doug Hanna, Sean Smith, the mobile pro guy. Of course, Cliff Ravenscraft will be on there. Daniel J. Lewis, the one and only DJL. Jeff Brown, Dan Franks. And like I said, the very first episode is with John Lee Dumas. And I'll give you just a sneak peek. The rock icon is famous for selling coffins. That's it. And if you don't know by now, then you'll never guess it. But check that out. Now, on the other hand, I went and saw a movie this weekend. It was great. It's called Collateral Beauty. And I didn't realize they show movies really late. Like I went to a 10:30 showing on a Friday night, figuring no one would be in the theater. And I was right, because it was about 12 degrees outside on a Friday night. And I go in, and it was kind of cool. Just, can we take a tangent for like just 10 seconds? I was the only person in the theater. So consequently, yeah, that's right. I was a rebel, man. I didn't turn off my cell phone, and I texted through the whole movie. And then somebody showed up about 15 minutes late. But anyway, I went to this thing, and it's a really cool movie. I think it is. I'm a big Will Smith fan. But it got me thinking, because he talks about how we as humans all yearn for love. I do. You do that, right? We all want to be loved. We all wish we had more time. And then we all fear death. So it doesn't matter if you're a Muslim or a Hindu or a Jew or gay or straight or purple or yellow or pink or whatever you is. We all want more love. We all wish we had more time. And we all fear death. And that really got my brain thinking deep. This almost turned into a Building a Better Dave episode, but it really turned into more therapy. So I use a program called Penzu, Penzu. It is an online journaling tool. I've been basically I keep a diary, because there are times when you just want to get stuff out of you. And I find it very therapeutic. Typed about 3,000 words into it. And at the bottom, they're like, hey, check out the Penzu podcast. And I click on it. And they're using SoundCloud. Okay. Not the best choice in the world, being that SoundCloud is losing money hand over fist. There are rumors now that Google may buy it. But if I was on SoundCloud, I would be moving off that platform like it was the Titanic. And speaking of that, right now through the first quarter of March, Libsyn, which, to be completely transparent here, is a company I now work for. Been working there since February of 2016, coming up on my 1-year anniversary, which will be fun. But normally, let's say you want to come over, but you have, I don't know, 150 episodes. Well, it used to be we would charge you 5 cents per megabyte, which usually didn't add up to a whole lot unless you had a big, huge catalog. But we're now saying, hey, you come over, sign up for Libsyn, and your back catalog comes for free, no matter how big it is, through the first quarter of 2017. And you're like, okay, yeah, but I have to pay for my first month. No, you don't. Use the coupon code. You ready for this? Write it down. SOP free. Now, SOP is short for School of Podcasting. SOP free, all one word. Get your free month. And actually, the way this works, if you sign up right now, as I record this, it's January 8th. You'll get January free and February. It's almost 2 months. I can't say 2 months because it's not really 2 months. It's the current month and then the next month. So you get those free, plus your back catalog free. So if you've ever been thinking getting off SoundCloud, now is the time. And by that, I mean now, like not tomorrow, not now. Get off. Ooh. So, and the name of their show, right, let's go back to Tim. Tim's is My Worst Interview Ever. To me, I'm like, okay, I know what that's about. I don't have to guess. I wonder what that show's about. They named their show, you ready for this? The Penn Zoo Podcast. The Penn Zoo Podcast. And their description is, podcast by Penn Zoo. Now, when I look at their titles, it says the Penn Zoo Podcast, the Penn Zoo Podcast, the Penn Zoo Podcast, the Penn Zoo Podcast. So I'm glad that they repeated it 7 times because I still don't know what it means, even if you repeat it over and over and over. And so let me pull it up in the actual iTunes app, which I absolutely am not a fan of. Yeah, the Penn Zoo Podcast, Journaling to Shed Emotional Weight, Writing and Success with Jack Canfield. Now, that's a pretty big name, but here on their website, you couldn't see Jack Canfield. That drives me. We're going to do the pet peeves. Let's do that now, shall we? If you have a pet peeve, that right there makes me want to go, ugh. Just, you have such an opportunity there, and you just shot yourself in the foot. If you have things that make you go, ugh, when you're listening to somebody, if you're screaming at the dashboard, please go to schoolofpodcasting.com/contact. There are all sorts of ways you can contact me there. I prefer audio, being that we're all kind of podcasters. Now, if you go, Dave, I don't have a podcast yet. You can call it in. It's over there too, 888-563-3228. And we're going to give away a 20-minute consulting session. We're going to play them all. So be sure to mention your podcast if you have one. And if you don't have a podcast, be sure to mention, I don't have a podcast. And because I kind of would be interested to see what the mix is of the audience here. But we're going to be playing those the last episode in January. And so for you to get that in, you need it in by Friday, January 27th. And I already have the question for February picked out. We're going to talk about that next month. But that's something I'm going to do every month this year, is I'm going to have the last episode be something that you and I work on. So that drives me nuts. The 5-minute journal with somebody's name that I can't pronounce, therapeutic writing, which is interesting because episode 1 was Shed Emotional Weight, the healing power of writing, I'm sensing a theme here, the miracle morning, and your best year yet. And so, okay, so not great descriptions, and most of those you couldn't even see because it just kept saying the Penn Zoo Podcast, the Penn Zoo Podcast, the Penn Zoo Podcast. Now, the other thing they did is they did 7 episodes. Nothing wrong with that. There's no real rule that says you have to do this podcast forever. But what they did do is they didn't think about their end user. So I log into my Penn Zoo account. It's penzu.com if you're interested in this. And they have a little button in the bottom right-hand corner that says, hey, here's the Penn Zoo Podcast, episode 7. I'm like, okay, cool. So I click on it, go over and listen to it a little bit. I'm like, okay. And then I was like, you know what? I forgot how much I like to kind of journal. I haven't done this in a while. It's interesting because for me, when I journal, I'm either really happy, I'm really deep in thought, or I've had a really bad day. So if you read my actual journal, it sounds like I've had a horrible life because most of the time it's I've had a really bad day and I want to just like cry into a piece of paper. And so every time I log in, I see Penn Zoo Podcast episode 7. And so they're not thinking about their audience that like, oh, cool, a podcast. No button there to subscribe. Nothing. When you go to their website, there's no button there to subscribe. They have links to the other episodes, and they talk about how The host is some guy that apparently worked with Jack Canfield, and I'm not making this up, was a crew member on the Love Boat. The Love Boat. No, it wasn't. What was the guy's name? What was the bartender? I want to say Oscar. Oh, see, now I have to Google this live. I want to say Oscar. I remember he had the Love Boat bartender. I'm sorry. This is not good show prep. Ted Lang. He was Isaac. Yes, Isaac. So for all of you that were shouting, talk about shouting at the bartender at the dashboard. Isaac was the bartender of the Love Boat, and apparently, so was Nathan Oren. So to me, I look at this and go, it's tips and tricks and things like that. I get it, but for me, the thing that really blew it on this is they have it pop up in their product now. Like when I log into their product, this thing pops up, and it looks to me like episode 7 came out quite a while ago, as in January of 2016 was the last episode. And so I would now here again, the Penzu podcast, not a great name. I would have called this something like Healing Through Journaling. That might make sense. Healing through, my favorite diary. I don't know, something about, but nobody knows what Penzu is, and they definitely don't know what it is when you throw the word podcast after it. So that to me, I was like, their art is just their logo, which again, the idea is to bring brand awareness through your podcast. But if nobody knows who you are, they're not, I guarantee you, nobody's going into iTunes going, let me search for Penzu if they don't know what Penzu is. Right? I mean, if I said, let's say I came up with a new product and I called it Schmorkenfeel. Right? Schmorkenfeel. And it's the Schmorkenfeel podcast. Nobody's going to be searching for Schmorkenfeel. And it does, yeah. So again, to me, I think it was a good effort. They could tweak this. And here's the cool thing. No one will punch you in the face. They could go back and rename this, come up with a little better show artwork that besides a big P for the logo, change the names of their episodes, and it would just generate a little more traffic. And then I would also take it out of the Penzu dashboard, so you're not annoying people with, oh my gosh, episode 7 is still here. So those are 2 examples of using podcasts for your business. And to expand on this just a little bit more, if you have things that you say all the time, like if you have a frequently asked question page on your business, those are podcast episodes. Easy ones. So you could do all sorts of stuff. Think about who your audience is. Think about what they want to listen to, and then make that show. I think for a while, I don't think it exists anymore, but Maytag, the people that make like washers and dryers, back in the day, they had a podcast. And I remember it was interesting because one of the episodes was how to get your kids to brush their teeth longer. And you're like, why would they do that? Well, who has kids? I don't know, parents. And when you throw kids and parents together, some people call them a family. And who has lots of laundry? Families. So theirs was all about family life, brought to you by your friends at Maytag. So that I always thought was an interesting twist on doing a podcast for your business. So in the end, even if you're not a business, think about the people that you want to attract, what kind of podcast do you want them to listen to? My buddy Paul Colligan is getting ready to tweak the podcast report. And that's one of my favorite shows. Actually, I'm a big Paul Colligan fan. He's a friend of mine. I've known him since 2004. We go way back. And he's getting ready because he realized he was doing a podcast to impress people like me, which he did with all of his he had a really wide view of the podcast industry, internet marketing, YouTubing, things like that. He's got a really wide view from his chair. But he realized his podcast didn't really attract his target audience because he has high profile coaching clients for podcasting. And so he's going to retweak his show to attract his target audience because the people that enjoyed his show were people like me. Well, I don't need a podcast consultant. I've already got one. It's sitting in my chair. So that is a great example sometimes. Think about that. Does your content attract the people that you want to? All right, the last thing I want to talk about, and it's kind of interesting as we're on episode number 500 and whatever this is, that I am occasionally going to repeat myself, but there are some things that we need to do on a regular basis, or at least on a yearly basis. So one of the things you can do is go into your Libsyn account, your WordPress account, your PowerPress account, wherever it says the copyright, and you have it like your name 2016, you might want to update that to 2017. And for me, it's amazing how, like, I'm going to go back and look at my bio on my website, because those are things we don't look at a lot. And sometimes you come back and it's been 11 months and you've seen it and you're like, ew, why did who did I write this? Oh man, that is stinkeroonie. Or, you look at your website and you find somebody that's not named Mom to go look at your website and go, what's the first thing that pops out at you? And they're like, I don't know. There's so many buttons. I don't even know what to look at. And you're like, Like I had somebody this week, valuable information. He had started to sign up for the School of Podcasting and then stopped like halfway through. So I could see where he had signed up, but he wasn't. It's like he had registered, but he didn't register for any classes. And I'm like, did you do this like on accident? What's going on? Did you have a problem? He goes, no, I kind of stopped halfway through because I didn't really know what you did. And I was like, interesting. So that's great feedback for me. I need to put that on my website. I have, if you go to schoolofpodcasting.com/start, it kind of explains there are 16 different courses that you can choose from. You can sign up for a monthly membership and take any of the classes you want. There's live group coaching. There's a private Facebook group. There's a kind of a closed group if you want feedback on your show. There's all sorts of fun stuff. But somehow maybe that person didn't see it. So you need to go back and look and see, is there anything that I might want to do better on my website? Now, keep in mind, there's one really key ingredient here with your website. When it comes to podcasting, and this is kind of a thing, this is almost the negative side of podcasting. Somebody can go to iTunes and find your show, hopefully, subscribe to it, and they can be listening to your content for years, if that's the way you roll, and never visit your website. That's just the harsh truth, which is why you got to give them reasons to go back to your website. But every year, I do a favorite podcast ever. It's the last episode of the year where I have you send in your, hey, this, if I could only listen to one, this would be the one I listen to, and here's why. Well, as you might imagine, that's gold. And I always try to then find the people that you said, hey, I really like the Binky and the Wiz show. And so I always want to go find Binky and the Wiz and say, hey, guys, Steve Stewart says you guys rock. And hopefully then that Binky and the Wiz would then send out a Twitter something. They would say, hey, look at us. Somebody thinks we're great. Because who doesn't want to hear that somebody thinks they're great? And I'm amazed when I go to these websites that how incredibly, and I mean, like, it's hard to contact these people. And there are two things I hear over and over and over from people. And that is, I'm not getting any interaction with my audience and I need more downloads. Well, first things first, if you want downloads, you can rate and review my show all day long. That doesn't add a single download to my show. And in theory, it helps you go up the iTunes charts, blah, blah, blah. Some of us have proven it's not really ratings and reviews. Subscribers, though, will drive your downloads. And I had somebody I was working with, and they were going to leave a very popular, very solid platform and move their feed, I'm not making this up, to FeedBurner so they could see the number of subscribers. Now, first things first, FeedBurner, caca, a poo-poo. It's old, it's outdated. It's like saying, I'm gonna lose my CD player and go back to 8-track tapes. It's not a good idea. And when I asked why, he's like, I want to count my subscribers. I say, well, realize if I subscribe to your show on my iPad and my iPhone and the desktop, that's going to count as 3 subscribers. Oh, by the way, FeedBurner has been known to stall, and FeedBurner has known to scramble your descriptions. And it's not so much, specifically, we're talking about the SmartCast feature in FeedBurner. But I, as a Libsyn support person, I run into many issues And the key ingredient, the problem is FeedBurner. So this person was going to leave their platform and go to FeedBurner. And I went to their website, and there was not one, not even a hint of one, not a text, not a button, 0 subscribe buttons. So the person wants to count subscribers, but they didn't have a way to subscribe. And the one thing you really, and I mean really, want to avoid people doing is if I say, find me in iTunes. There are so many podcasts now. If I was doing a real estate podcast, OOFA, or if I was doing, entrepreneur mindset this week, there's so many shows out there. And that's why it's kind of harder to grow your audience now. So don't think you can just say, find me in iTunes, because I've done this myself, where you will type in somebody's exact name of their show, hit search, and iTunes will go, I don't know what you're talking about. Or it'll be on like page 7 of the results or whatever. It's really, really kind of weird. So don't rely on people finding you in iTunes. The best thing you can do is have a link on your website for them to click on and subscribe. So that's the biggie. Have a way to subscribe. And the other thing is, think of that as a purchase, right? When I go to the mall, I almost avoid this because it works rather well on me. And you have the little person in front of whatever the chicken hut is or whatever. And it's some sort of Chinese place, and it's lemon, orange, whatever chicken. And I eat it and go, that's really good. And 9 times out of 10, I will take 10 steps away and go, you know what? I think I'll get some of that. It's a free sample. And in terms of a podcast, a free sample is a play button. Click this and people go, that sounds pretty cool. Oh, wow, he's talking about this and that, or she's talking about that. Well, that's the free sample. And then the subscribe is the I will take that. So if you just have the buy button and they haven't free sampled it, so you might want to have a play button there for them to listen to, that they don't have to click through and scroll down there and then under the thing, click on that, and now I can listen to it. It should be go to website, click play, subscribe. If you can do that. Now, here's the tough part of this. You have to figure out, what is your website for? You're like, what do you mean? It's a podcast. Well, not for everybody. If your podcast is to drive leads to your business, then you might have a big giant sign up form. If your goal of your podcast is to grow your Facebook community, then you might have a big old button that pops up that says join my Facebook community. Whatever it is, that's what you have to, you might have a different website than somebody who is just a podcaster and just wants to grow their numbers and grow this and get more downloads and subscribers and things like that. So there is no one size fits all on this. I'm just saying, for me, the one thing that really threw me for a loop, and that's the other thing we talked about. So number one, if you want more downloads, you got to make it easy to subscribe. And I always point to Glenn Hebert, Mr. Glenn the Geek over at Horse Radio Network. He goes over and says, how do you want to listen? Click here. And he has step-by-step instructions on how to subscribe, because he knew his audience isn't that technical. And Glenn, by the way, I've kind of been working with him via email. We'll be coming back in 2017 for another episode. Glenn always brings some gold, and we were talking, and he's got some stuff that he stumbled across, and is like, we need to make this an episode. I'm like, come on down, buddy. So, such a great guy. And so the other one is contact. And I'm amazed that I'm trying to give these people good news. Somebody likes your show. Somebody likes your show. And the one person I finally had to tweet, hey, somebody liked your show there was no contact, like 0. And I went to like the about page, because sometimes people will sneak it on there. Just no, there was no contact page. I was like, wow, in 2017, somebody doesn't have a contact page. Now, the other thing you have to keep in mind here with your contact page, whatever it is, some people like the form, some people like this and that. Make it easy for people to contact. And then whatever email that is associated with that, make sure you're checking it. If you're having people, like if you call right now, 888-563-3228, that goes to my Gmail account, which does, if you email dave@schoolofpodcasting.com behind the scenes, that goes to a Gmail account. So everything goes in. I check one thing and it's all there. You got to make sure, because the worst thing you can do is ask somebody for feedback and then lose it, which is kind of scary for me at times, because there are days when I wake up and I have a page and a half of email and I'm like, oofa. So that's why members of the School of Podcasting have a special way to contact me so I don't lose their email. So those are the two things that I just wanted to comment on, because everybody wants more interaction and everybody wants more downloads. And when I was going around to these people's websites, I was amazed at how hard it was to contact them. And in some cases, how many ways it was hard to, actually listen to their show. So go back and look at your website. I know I'm a victim of what I call front page creep. Have you ever heard of this? This is where you have your website just set up just the way you want it. It's nice and simple, some fair amount of white space, not too cramped, really easy to read. And then you add, oh, wow, there's a new shiny tool. Okay, I'll add this on the sidebar. And then a couple months later, oh, look at this new site. I'll just add that to the sidebar. Oh, you know what? I'll put that above each post. Then all of a sudden you go over and it's just like, so be careful. And you don't notice it because you're just adding one more little thing and one more little thing and one more little thing. That's one of the things I'm going to be doing in 2017, probably second quarter. I do realize the School of Podcasting looks like it was designed in, 2005, because it kind of was. So I do plan on updating that. Might be working on a new logo, a couple other things. But it's the first of the year. And in the same way that football players sometimes go back and they study how to tackle, because sometimes going back to the basics is a good thing. As I came across this, I was like, and I looked at some of my websites and went, you know what? I could use this. Maybe it's a little hard to find my play button or things of that nature. So give yourself that test. And then the other thing you might want to do is send yourself a message. Like if you have a form on your website, go pretend you're a listener or a potential advertiser. That's the other thing that I always think, I want to have an advertiser on my show, but there's no way to contact you. Well, how is an advertiser supposed to say, we'd like to advertise on your show, if there's no way to do that? If you want voicemail, check out this is an affiliate link, but if you go to podcastvoicemail.com, it's only $2 a month. And that's another way to be contacted. But check that out. And as we get ready to wrap things up today, what did we check out? Well, number one, want to thank Cale Nelson from Ham Radio 360 for his lovely story about barbecue. And I think that's one of my favorites. That's just so like, they did what? Want to thank Tim Sinclair from Ringer. If you want to check out Ringer, it's RINGR, because we all know E's are evil. RINGR.com/podcast coach. And what that is, again, it's an alternative to Skype. And the conversation we had, by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier, was done over Ringer. And it's super duper easy. And the one thing I really like about Ringer, I hadn't used it in a while, went over and signed back up, because I was, me, I like to play with my toys, is I love the fact that the minute Tim came on, it started recording it. Because I've had times where you forget to press record. It's really embarrassing, but it happens. So we learned about a great way to have a podcast for your business. We talked about the Penzu podcast, which in my opinion, could use some tweaking. And again, remember, your podcast can always be tweaked. It's not a statue, it's a recipe. And check out Tim's new show over at worstinterviews.com. And we talked about your website and some things you might want to check out to make sure that people can contact you and people can find your podcast easy. So thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget, if you have something that makes you go, ugh, then go over to schoolofpodcasting.com/contact. You'll be entered in the contest to win a 20-minute consultation with me. My preferred delivery is audio, or if you're going to call it in. But if you want to email it, because doggone it, that's just the way you roll, that's fine. Just put ugh or pet peeves in the email. I will take that as well. So thanks so much for tuning in. Until next week, class is dismissed. Take care, and God bless. I don't know what episode it is. I don't know. Right. What are we on? 540. Is this 548? Yes, it is. Okay.